ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on into today's Sixers game recap as we discuss Thursday night's loss to the Dallas Mavericks down in Dallas. And it's a 133-126 loss here for the Sixers. And look, the main thing we got to take away here is that we have to keep in mind that this was coming off of a back-to-back. This is a tough month in general for the Sixers, but specifically in this week when you got Miami two times back-to-back, you got Dallas back-to-back after you just got done playing Miami. And then you got the Milwaukee Bucks on Saturday. Those are three teams that are contending to try to be a finals contender. And you got them all in the 1 week. Now, I really hope that none of you guys went into this matchup thinking to yourselves that the Sixers were going to hold the Dallas Mavericks to 80 points. And I honestly was shocked that people were thinking that the Sixers could do that because this is a Dallas Mavericks team who, by the way, we're slumping. They didn't come into this game on a high note, but it's still Luka Doncic. It's still Kyrie Irving, and eventually they're going to figure it out. It seems like tonight they did figure it out. It was Mavericks team highs in points scored by combined two players. Luka had 42. Kyrie had 40. That's enough for 82 points, and that is a franchise high. I mean, Dallas has had a lot of good players, especially since Mark Cuban has owned them, but nothing to the extent of what they have now with Luka and Kyrie. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki was never playing with the Kyrie Irving type in his tenure, but it unfortunately was against us, the Philadelphia 76ers. And this is one of those games where, look, right off the jump, Dallas, they looked like they were ready to play. And they were scoring at a bunch. Kyrie and Luka were going off on all game long. But the thing was, the Sixers were able to keep it close. I think we went into halftime with only a 4-point deficit. It was a pretty high score. I think it was like 69 or 71 to 66. It was something pretty high. That was halftime. There was not much defense going on in this basketball game. Unfortunately, though, in the beginning of the third quarter, that was really a big game changer. As the Mavericks just kind of went on a big run, they found themselves with a 20-point lead. But then in the beginning of the fourth quarter with the bench unit, they really got it going. And it was again the same kind of culprits on this lineup. You had Tyrese Maxey running it with Paul Reed and Jalen McDaniels and Shake Milton, and those guys seemed to be getting something going. And there was the same. We saw a lot from those guys a night before in Miami, and we saw how they were able to stretch the court, use their athleticism, dictate the pace of the game, create some turnovers, and that's kind of what they did in the beginning of that fourth quarter. Sixers were able to cut the lead to 4 points. It was a 4-point game with, I want to say, around 5 minutes left into the game, but unfortunately, just bad shot selection, terrible turnovers at the end, and Dallas just had enough to kind of pull away. But at the end of the day, I mean, you lost by what? By 7 points. I mean, it's a 7 point loss in a game that you pretty much, besides like 6 minutes in this game, this was pretty much a pretty close game. But obviously, defense was an issue, of course. But I think that to me, there are more positives and negatives to take away from it. I mean, look, you got to take this with a grain of salt because of the fact of the matter is that the Sixers are playing on a back to back. That is really difficult, and then you got to go into Dallas, and Dallas look feeling hungry, looking to get a win, looking to get the ball rolling, like we mentioned. Luka and Kyrie tenure in Dallas kind of has started off, so they haven't won a lot of games, but it's obviously a really talented team. And honestly, it wasn't just Luka and Kyrie that were really doing damage. They had other guys knocking down some big shots. Reggie Bullock knocking down some crucial ones. He had 5 threes here on the night. Dwight Powell being a little bit of a rim protector. Max Kleber had 2 threes coming off the bench. They have Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench right now as he added on 8 points. And Christian Wood process his own. Christian Wood tacking on 10 points, 2 for 5 from the 3 point line. Looks like Dwight Powell has been taking the minutes away from Christian Wood as the starting center there. But yeah, no, it really did go through Kyrie and Luka Doncic, and it's weird because like you saw Kyrie handle the rock, you saw Luka handle the rock, and what makes it so dangerous is that they're different paces of game. They're both point guards, and they both can score the block, so it's very interchangeable. When you get Kyrie in there, it's obviously a little more fast flowing. There's a little more handles being shown there. And when it's Luka, it's more of a slow paced game. And Luka's not scared to pull up and pop. That jumper that he has, it is very, very fluid. And even for a guy like James or even Tobias or Tyrese, it was definitely difficult for them to contain those two. We got finally Sixers fans were able to see Tyrese Maxey get put into the starting lineup. It's something that a lot of Sixers fans have been clamoring for. And you got the usual starting five. I'm sorry, Joel Embiid at the center with PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden. And you got you got solid production from your three big guys, Joel, Tyrese, and James. All were able to score over 25 points. Joel added 35 points here in this game after having the night off in Dallas. There was some plays that were left to be desired here for Joel Embiid. There was a big it was like what a at that point it was like a 131, 126 game, and I think it was I forget who put up the three, but Josh Green kind of just rips a rebound away from Joel Embiid, and you're just like, Joel, what are you doing? You're 7 foot. You're Joel Hans Embiid. Go up and get that board. And the effort. I mean, again, keep in mind it is a back to back. You playing two difficult teams on this back to back, so I definitely do get that. But the win was definitely there, right? The win was there on Monday. The win was there last Saturday. But that is the point of what we're going through right now. This is the toughest stretch for the Sixers. And we're learning a lot about this team. And they're learning a lot about themselves and they're working things out. Because what you don't want to do is bring these same issues into the playoffs here. But again, I think for me, you do take more positives away than negatives. I mean, look, you have tape, right? I mean, the thing is, like, going into the playoffs, we're not really going to face off against a backcourt like Kyrie and Luka Doncic. There's some solid backcourts in the East, but it's not like what the West is, and so you won't have to worry about that per se. My concern, especially defensively, that defensively is really my main concern. It is just effort. It is just pace, and I feel like effort. Obviously, I mean, you just turn it on, right? And you do have guys who turn it on, turn it off. But with pace, that comes to just being able to dictate the pace of the game. It's so simple to say, but you know creating turnovers, moving at your pace, getting buckets, raising the lead. That always brings the other team down, and those are things that the Sixers continuously need to work on. But I was thoroughly pleased with the bench. The bench this week has definitely proven to me that we're going to be okay. And whether it be D'Anthony Melton or Tyrese Maxey first coming off the bench, we have a guard. We have a guard that can come off the bench. That definitely is a huge positive for sure for the Philadelphia 76ers. But Jalen McDaniels seems to be getting more comfortable. It's funny because a lot of the top talk this week has been Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle right now has been playing very well for the Portland Trailblazers. I think if I last checked, he's shooting over 50% from the field and from the 3-point line. He's got over 40 attempts from the field. So he's obviously playing much better with the Trailblazers, and it definitely is tough to talk about because we didn't want to get rid of Matisse. We just wanted that exact reduction he's given Portland that he gives here. Now, I don't know what it is, right? Like, we can't just blame Doc because he was here with Brett Brown, too, right? Is it the player development? Obviously, we don't know too much about the player development. There hasn't been too much player development going on here in Philly. I mean, Joel Embiid's really the main guy, Tyrese Maxey as well. But, you know, you have had guys like Matisse Thybulle not develop. You have had guys like Ben Simmons not develop here as well. That's obviously the most notorious one, to say the least. But um, is it attitude, right? Like, Matisse Thybulle, I'm not saying he has a bad attitude, but he's doesn't have kind of like that killer instinct in him. It's only really comes on big defensive matchups. But Joel Embiid, Tyrese, I don't know what it is per se, but it is a bit of a concern when you got Matisse Thybulle going over to Portland and he's playing extremely well. He's knocking down threes. He's looking like the D player that we all kind of anticipated. So now, you look at Jalen McDaniels because Jalen McDaniels is quintessentially the replacement for Matisse Thybulle, and McDaniels right now is averaging around the same production as Matisse Thybulle. So Now you go back to us, and it's like, okay, is it us? Are we not putting these guys in the right positions to succeed? For Jalen McDaniels, for me personally, what I just need him to be is just be that athletic wing, run the court, play some D, play perimeter D. That's really one thing that we have been struggling with. And then just get involved in offense. Use your athletic ability. He obviously can shoot the rock a little bit. He's been getting to the free throw line quite a bit now. He didn't make his free throws here on what Thursday night, but I do think that the future is promising for Jalen McDaniels, and for Doc. You just got to stick with it too. You got to give those guys the minutes. Jalen McDaniels is averaging almost 11 points a game with Charlotte in 25 minutes. I mean, he's barely averaging like 14 minutes here with the Sixers. So minutes are important, and he is going to need that in order to get comfortable. Paul Reed is also. I mean, listen, he's definitely the best option at center that we have besides Joel Embiid. I mean, I don't think that it's perfect still, but defensively, he provides you with athleticism that you kind of need. He runs very well, and he's been very deserving. Now he didn't get 13 points like he did last night or Wednesday night, but he got two. And he was very active and he was moving, and that's the important part there. And that's kind of the stuff that you do need, but. Um, I feel like all of these games are just going to be a learning experience. It is preparing you, it is growing you for what is going to be the playoff time. You're going to face off against a team like this on a night to night basis come playoff time, and you're going to have to figure it out. Now, playoff time is different because you're facing the same team in the best of seven series. In this, you're playing Miami. You're playing Boston. Playing Miami twice in the same week. You're playing Dallas. You're playing Milwaukee. That's difficult. Those are different matchups. Those are different things you have to prepare on a night to night basis. Playoffs is different, and that's why you want to go through the gauntlet here tonight, or through the season, so you can get yourself prepared here. George Niang came back out here tonight, 11 minutes, not the best, but he will be okay. He'll be providing us with that three. He could use a little more from Tobias. 10 points here tonight. He was 4 or 6 from the field. Not too much looks here. He did have 5 boards, but he was mainly used for the defensive assignment. But I mean, look, you as far as defense goes, I mean, obviously, you don't want to ever see Luka or anyone, any duo put up 82 points alone. Defensively, I mean, there wasn't really much call. I mean, we didn't get our first trap on Luka Doncic until the end of the third quarter. So that is definitely, a little bit concerning. You definitely want to see a little bit more. But when it comes to the Mavs, were able to shoot 50% from the field and 52% from the 3-point line. To me, that's just you got to be able to move, right? You got to be able to move those feet. And again, I guess that does go back to the legs, but can't really use it too much as an excuse. The fact that you played in a back to back, because everyone is kind of everyone does that in the league. Everyone has to play in these back to backs, but you got to play in these games, and you got to find a way to win. And I do think that if it wasn't for that back to back, the Sixers would have won this game, because I think that some of the issues that happened here tonight were the fact that they were just a little bit fatigued from playing so many basketball games. But the other thing that James Harden, we'll talk about real quick. In 38 minutes, he did give you 27 points, hit some big threes throughout this game. Back-to-back games where he's shooting over 5 threes and making them. He's obviously figuring out his game. There's been a lot of talk about James in the media. The whole Houston stuff is continuing to pop. I'm not saying that I don't think it is true, because I do think that there is some truth to it. But I also do think that James he is playing with so much effort this year. We all saw his body transformation. We have seen him. We've seen more glimpses in the regular season this year of Houston James Harden than we saw last year. So James is all in on winning a championship, and it seems like he is focused here on winning a championship. The rumors about going back to Houston, I do think that there is some truth to it, because you wouldn't hear it so much, and you wouldn't hear from the people who are putting those out there. At the end of the day, if James does want to go back to Houston, it kind of is what it is. I mean, James is obviously a guy who's a little bit of a free flower. He does obviously like to party a little bit. He still holds Houston very close to us. So I do believe he still goes to Houston quite often. I think he still has a house there. Obviously, he has his whole life that he had there for over 10 years. So I do get that part of it, but I think it all depends on what happens this year. If the Sixers make it close, let's just say they make it to the finals and lose in 6 or 7. I could see James kind of just saying, "All right, I had a solid career. I gave it a shot, made it to the finals. I think that's it. Let me go back to Houston. Let me retire there." But it's just really, and James is also one of those athletes where you just don't know what to think. You don't know what to expect from this player. So, look, James and Joel are very special players, and this is going to be the main reason why we potentially win a championship. I do think that the offense is going to go through them, and I think that come playoff time, it's really going to come down to those two players really elevating, bringing this city and this team to where we want to go. So I think the Houston talk, it is just talk, but I think James and the rest of his team, they're just focused on playoffs. They're just focused on trying to get to the finals here, and so it is what it is. Rumors you can't really control, right? But I really think that for James, he's definitely focused on the season here. Let me see here. So next up is the Milwaukee Bucks, and that is definitely going to be difficult. Milwaukee's one of the hottest teams in basketball right now, um, and so it's gonna be a great test. Can the Sixers in Milwaukee get the job done? We'll see here. Great story here by Sixers Wire. It looks like PJ Tucker's having a big influence on Paul Reed, and that's definitely something you love to hear, man. If Paul Reed can get that rebounding skill from PJ Tucker, that's going to be huge. It's really what you need. You just need someone who's going to be a threat as a rim protector, someone who can defend, someone who can get those boards, and that's really what it is. Because what you don't want, I mean, and Montrezl Harrell actually did see the court here today. He saw 2 minutes, a whole 2 minutes here on the night. But if you can get someone who can be somewhat of a presence under the rim and can get those damn boards, that's really what you need. Whether it be Paul Reed, whether it be Dwayne Dedman, whether it be Montrezl Harrell, does not matter. I just need those two things: defense or just presence defensively and rebounding. It's it. It's not that difficult. All right. It's not that much I'm asking. I'm not asking for Joel Embiid. Listen, I'm not even asking for an Andre Drummond. And Andre Drummond, to me, is one of the best rebounders in the league. That's really what made him so special. That's why we miss him. Besides his defensive presence as well, but to really what we are looking for. Let me see here. This is interesting. This one catches my eye. Okay. Could Mac McClung be coming up? No, he's not coming up. There's no way he's not coming up. All right. So they asked Doc Rivers about Mac McClung and if there's any chance of him coming up to Philly. So he goes, I haven't seen him much, honestly, said Doc Rivers. This was after the Miami Heat win on Wednesday. He's been down in the G League, so I don't have to answer to that. I've always stayed out of that and allowed those guys to evaluate. It would have been easier for me to tell you something if he was in our training camp and we saw him, but we signed him after that. So for all my people who are hoping that Mac McClung would make a presence here in Philadelphia, I just don't think that will happen anytime soon. But we'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, Mac McClung. Listen, it was a great story here in Philadelphia with the slam dunk contest, but I don't think it will happen for right now. Just finalizing, look at some of these last stats. 14 turnovers to Dallas. Thing is that this is what's so hard about it. It's because this was an evenly contested match. Like if you don't look at the end of the third, beginning fourth quarter, besides that, this was an evenly contested matchup here. And so that's what makes it so difficult. I mean, 14 turnovers for the Sixers, 12 for the Dallas Mavericks. Sixers shot 54% from the field. Or sorry, 57% from the field. Dallas shot 54. The one key difference was the 3 point. Dallas shot 52%, while Philly shot 44%. That's definitely key right there. Obviously, 3 point shots are high value here in today's day in the NBA. The free throw, the Sixers did really well there, 88%. Dallas only shot 66%, but again, you're knocking down them threes, and you're getting more clips than the Sixers, then yes, that'll definitely be big. You're able to dominate the paint finally, 60-34. It's been a while since we've been able to do that. 9-6 on second chance points. Sixers had the advantage there. And the Sixers had the advantage on fast break points, 23-17, but still not enough. Kyrie and Luka came in here possessed and ready to win. And unfortunately, Sixers just did not have enough gas in the gas tank, which reminds me, I need to add gas to my gas tank as well. But guys, that's going to do it for today's Sixers game recap. Again, the Sixers fall 133 to 126, and we are off against Milwaukee. No game recap for that one. We'll see if we'll talk about it on Sunday or Monday. Obviously, Union now in full swing, so they do get the priority there. So we'll have the Union match recap on Saturday as they gear up for Miami. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe for more Philly sports. And until next time, I go by the name of El Parcero Philly, and I'm telling you guys, well, let's go Philly sports.